What's going on, everybody? My name is Jason and I make posters. If you're new around here, every Thursday I take a random movie out of my collection and make a poster out of it. I have my entire movie collection in a spreadsheet, so I run that through a randomizer and it picks one for me. Today I'm going to be doing a Retrowave design, a little bit different from what I normally do. So hopefully whatever the randomizer chooses, it will fit for that movie. Before we get going, please remember to hit like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications to be notified of all new content. Now let's get started. Alright, so here's my spreadsheet and we're going to go from the top all the way down to the bottom so we can select everything. We go over here to the random picker, drop them in, pick a random item. San Andreas. Alright, so I actually think this will work out very well, so let me go grab that real quick. Alright, San Andreas starring the one and only Dwayne Johnson. So my wife and I are huge disaster movie fans, and I think that this is actually going to work out very well for a Retrowave poster. And one of my favorite things about this movie, just like all disaster movies, they all end exactly the same way. Well, what are we going to do now? We rebuild. Tons of fun. If you haven't seen San Andreas, I definitely recommend it. Alright, so let's head over into Illustrator and get started. Alright, so we're here in Illustrator, and what you're looking at right now is a poster that I did for JoJo's album, The High Road. It's one of my favorite albums. I think you may be able to see the poster on the wall behind me for it. So this is one of the many examples of Retrowave design. Lots of high contrast imagery. Sometimes you could even see some neon colors going on, although I chose the color scheme that works well for this particular album. So this is the look that we're going for, and I actually think it's going to work out very well. So what I might actually end up doing is I might end up just rebuilding this particular poster so you can see exactly how I did this one, and then we'll just retool it for San Andreas. So the font that I used for this poster, and I'm also going to use the same one for this one, is Euro Style Extended. So it's a great font that really lends itself to this particular style of design. So what I'm doing right now is just figuring out what all is going to go onto the poster in terms of the typography. We can figure out the imagery later. So everything that's on this poster, the JoJo poster, you know, that's an album. Now we're doing a movie, so the text is going to be a little bit different. And I may actually do a couple of things just differently in general. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set up a structure, and then I'll just come back later and we can figure that out a little bit later. All right, so we have the basic setup here, and I've got a lot of the text and everything laid down. Typically, you know, on this movie poster, you would just see Dwayne Johnson's name, but I wanted to take up all of the space right there, so I put in Carla Gugino's. I really hope that I pronounced that correctly. Her name up there as well. So as far as everything that we've got laid out here, we do have a little bit more text to put down here at the bottom. I'm also going to put a graphical element down here, and we'll just kind of do the same thing for that with that gradient that I did before. But really, I just want to figure out what exactly I'm going to put down here, because typically in movie poster, like for a music poster, you've got a lot that you can put in. You've got, you know, the track listing, and you've got some information about the album itself, the release date, and things like that. I need to figure out exactly what I'm going to put in here. So let me just kind of do a little bit of exploring and figure that out. All right, so because the type in the JoJo poster is so tightly compacted and everything, I mean, like, it does have a little bit of breathing room, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm not going to necessarily match that because I feel like I have to. I'm just gonna put the type in there that I think needs to be on the poster, and then we'll just work on it. All right, so I'm pretty happy with everything that's on here. It doesn't have nearly as much compact and tight information as the JoJo poster, but it doesn't really matter. You know, it's a movie, so it's a little bit different. But I've got the director in there, and then also starring the supporting cast down at the bottom. I thought that was a good addition. I may actually, yeah, there we go. That looks a lot better to match the font weight of the rest of them up at the top. So now that we've got the structure, and you'll also notice that I made this a little bit wider, where the image is going to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and plop all of this into Photoshop. I'm going to do it very separately, so I'm going to speed up that portion of it because I want to make sure that we separate the elements exactly as they need to be, so I can go in and work with them, and that we can also apply the filters a little bit differently. All right, so we have everything in, and as you can see, that is quite a laborious process right there, but you have to make sure that you get everything separated so that you can target each thing individually. You could bring it all in as one element directly into Photoshop, but I prefer to leave them separated so I can actually work with each element separately and apply different levels of effects to them. All right, so I'm here on Unsplash, and I'm just going to find an image for San Andreas, and you know, I'm not going to be too picky on it, but I do want to see if I can find something. Let's see. Actually, now I think about it, how about earthquake? Type in earthquake California. Probably not going to be a whole lot of ones coming up here. However, I do like this image right here, and you know, these types of posters, this is the kind of image that you typically see on posters like this, you know, like a road or something like that. So let's drop this in here. I'm gonna mask this up here to the top. Right now, you know, just like earlier, we're just getting all of our elements in place and everything before we start applying these effects. All right, so as far as the color palette goes, you know, like for the let me pull up the JoJo one real quick. So the JoJo one, you know, mostly like orange and like a turquoise or teal type of color. For San Andreas, I'm probably gonna go with the same type of color palette because it works well for like the summer blockbuster movies and especially for like disaster movies. But I'll try to change it up a little bit. All right, so for this portion, I'm just gonna cheat just a little bit. I'm gonna go in here and actually grab some of the effects directly out of the JoJo poster Photoshop file, but I'll still have plenty of playing around to do. As you can see, it's not as easy as just drag and drop, but I am gonna bring in my grain effects. I'm just gonna go ahead and plop those in place, and then we will figure out exactly. It's been a while since I've done this poster. I think it's been about a year since I've done this poster, so I need to figure out exactly what I'm gonna do in terms of dropping these all on top. I should be able to just do it, but I'll need to make sure that I put everything exactly where it needs to go. All right, so we're almost done here, and the very last thing I want to do is go in and make sure that everything kind of bleeds into the paper. I want to give it like a real nice vintage look. So I'll show you exactly how we're going to do that. We're going to start off with our lines, and this is part of the reason why we do everything separately, because the smaller the element is, the less you want to apply to it. For something like this, for like a Gaussian blur, a 3 will work just fine. For the small text, probably a 3 as well. But sometimes you may want to go up to like a 4 or a 5 or something like that. But I think 3 is going to be just fine. And then for a large text, we'll probably go up to a 5. Actually, now that I look at it, probably a 4 or maybe even a 3. Wouldn't that be ironic? I go in there to separate all this stuff out just to apply the same level of effect to everything. All right, so I'm going to go up here to the plus signs. I just recently noticed as I was doing all the things that those are barely visible, so we're just going to turn those white. And we'll do probably just maybe a 2 or a 3 on those plus signs, just to kind of bring them up a little bit. All right, that looks good. Okay, and let's take a look at everything. One last thing that I might do just to kind of give the text a little bit more distortion is, this doesn't always work, but we'll just kind of play around with it. I'm going to do a displacement. So what this is going to do is this is actually going to use a PSD file that I've got, and it's going to displace the pixels just a little bit, probably about by 2 pixels or so. So I've got one that I already have in place. Let me go to it. Everything is on my external hard drive, and it's crying right now because it's so full. Okay, all right, so this is what it looks like with it. This is without it. So as you can see, it's just really adding in a nice level of distortion, displacement, just making it look a little bit more aged. I'm going to actually bring this down to a 2 to make it, just to make sure that it's nice and legible. Okay, and then so that's all the small text. We did that there. Let's go ahead and do the large text. Sometimes you can get away with doing a little bit higher with the larger text, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at a 2 and see what it looks like. There, that looks good. That looks good right there. All right, and then as far as the image holder itself, we need to go in, maybe do a displacement there as well. So let's try that. Good. All right, so it's kind of giving it a little bit rough around the edges, and we'll need to go in and give it a Gaussian blur as well. So probably about a 2. I'd say a 2 is just fine. All right, is there anything that we left out? Oh yeah, we did. We left out the gradient block. So let's go in, let's do our displacement there. So here we go. Here is our San Andreas Retrowave style poster for the movie. If you haven't seen this movie, if you're a fan of disaster movies, definitely give this one a watch because it's one of the more fun ones, I think. You get to see Dwayne Johnson doing his thing in a disaster movie, and I highly recommend that. All right, well, thanks a lot for watching me make that San Andreas movie poster. That was fun. It's been a while since I've done anything Retrowave, so it was fun to do that for the first time on this channel. If you like this video, please remember to hit like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications to be notified of all future content. Thanks a lot for watching, thanks a lot for subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.